itself. It does appear that way, and especially they seem to have cleared the freeway pretty much like they do when you see a presidential motorcade. You'll notice that everyone is off to the sides and the freeway is wide open. Does it appear that way to you from your viewpoint, Craig?
Oh, most definitely. As you can see, just crossed over a section of lots of pedestrians on the freeway. The on-ramp at around Venice is just jam-packed with people, spectators looking out of their vehicles, looking on at the procession here, northbound 405.
Okay, Craig, Stan and I were just speculating about what the Highway Patrol and LAPD will do when they arrive at the Sunset Boulevard off-ramp. Now, it's possible that that car may turn off at another point, and the access to his estate could be reached, of course, from Wilshire, or there is another turnoff, as I recall, near Waterford, which would then let him go under the freeway to Church Lane and then up to Sunset Boulevard. So I think that what we want to see, if you could accommodate us and our viewers, would be that when he gets to Sunset Boulevard, to see what happens next if the car gets that far.
Yes, it'll be quite interesting to see what is going to develop here in the next 5 minutes or so. Currently approaching the 405-10 interchange northbound.
So you're right near the Santa Monica Freeway, and it looks as though the car is proceeding at, what would you estimate, 40, 45 miles an hour?
Yeah, approximately that speed is between 35 and 45 miles an hour, I would estimate.
Uh-huh. Okay, then from the I-10 interchange up to Sunset Boulevard is only going to be maybe 3 or 4 minutes more.
Oh, most definitely. We're just coming up on the interchange at this time into the West LA area, and if indeed someone is in communication with the vehicle, and that is a distinct possibility of getting off at Sunset en route to the Brentwood location, and possibly that could be a termination point.
It does look like he's going past the 10 turnoff, doesn't it?
Yes, currently at the interchange at this time, and he's continuing northbound on the 405.
Okay, now if I'm just making a guess here, he's either going to turn off at Waterford or at Sunset Boulevard. It's possible to go to the next turnoff and then double back to get to Sunset. But
yeah, he's right in front of me.
But Craig, do you see any blockades on those off-ramps up ahead?
Unfortunately, I don't see anything like that. It looks pretty smooth sailing up the 405. I don't believe there is any roadblocks up ahead.
Okay, I didn't mean across the freeway. I meant on the off-ramps. Of course, that may be a little bit out of your sight. It'll probably come into your view within the next 60 seconds or so.
Yes, the off-ramps are quite blocked. It appears that a good number of people are pulled on the right shoulder and are out of their vehicles watching this procession proceed up the 405 freeway here. It's in this area, it's becoming more prevalent that people are stopped alongside the road and are watching this as it passes them by.
What off-ramp are you coming up on now? You should be approaching pretty close to Wilshire Boulevard, aren't you?
Coming up on Santa Monica Boulevard at this time,
right.
And that off-ramp is not blocked, and the vehicle is still in the far left lane,
right, so
continuing northbound.
Let's mention to our viewers that there are only 3 off-ramps now remaining if he's going to go to that Brentwood estate. There's the one coming up on Wilshire, which you're probably approaching now.
That's affirmative, Hal.
Okay, and then right after that, probably another 30 to 40 seconds, you'll be at Waterford. We'll see if he turns off on Waterford, but he's in the left lane.
Yes, left lane, currently left lane. You can see other traffic there with the vehicle. The left lane and the other traffic are pulling off to the right shoulder at this time, ahead of the vehicle.
Okay, now it's crucial to see if he starts moving over to the right lane.
It doesn't appear that will be the case due to the number of vehicles blocking those right lanes.
Craig, Eric Spillman is right there at the intersection of Sunset and the 405. Eric, can you read us? Go ahead and tell us what you see.
Well, first of all, we're just coming up. We're going north on the 405. We're coming to Sunset Boulevard right now. And I can tell you that I have seen CHP officers stopping people from getting onto the 405. The southbound 405, as you know, is a parking lot with everybody stopped and out of the cars looking, waiting for this chase to come. But the Sunset Boulevard off-ramp is open, and it appears that they think that he might get off here. The whole way going north along the 405, it is an amazing sight. Along the right-hand shoulder, people have pulled over, many of them carrying signs such as signs reading things like "Save the Juice," "Go OJ." People are literally cheering him on as he travels northbound on the 405, and we can only assume that he plans to get off at Sunset and go towards perhaps his home.
All right, now, Eric, do you hear us?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, we have been speculating that he would get off on Sunset. He must be approaching you right now. He is still in the far left lane. We'll let you know if he starts moving over into the right lane. Now, remember, there's an exit on that freeway right past Sunset Boulevard. I believe it's Moraga Drive.
There is. When you come to the Sunset Boulevard overpass over the 405, it is crowded with people who are outside on the bridge.
He's moving over now, Eric, moving over to the right, which means he may take that Sunset Boulevard off-ramp. He's now moving over to the right lane.
Go, follow him.
Craig, are we approaching Sunset Boulevard
Go,
now?
follow him.
Yes, we are now.
Okay, we're approaching Sunset Boulevard.
There's a crowd of people who are on the bridge here watching as he approaches the Sunset Boulevard.
All right, Eric.
Looks like there's a...
Eric, it appears now as though he is getting, as I recall, there are two lanes on the Sunset Boulevard off-ramp. He is in one of them, and that's the lane he would be using. Looks like he's getting off there.
Okay, Hal, it looks like he is getting off at the off-ramp at Sunset.
All
here.
right. Okay.
Getting off, he's on the off-ramp now, coming up the off-ramp at Sunset. Lots of people at the overpass at Sunset, and possibly here will be a westbound turn en route to Brentwood.
That's
It
right.
looks like he's in the left lane now.
Yeah.
Making a left turn. The intersection's free, and he's clear, and now making his left turn westbound on Sunset.
All right. He must have gone right by you, Eric.
Well, he has, and we're staying ahead of it. We're going to his mansion, believing that he's going there, but it was an amazing situation on that overpass there. There were people running around on top of there. I don't know how he's going to be able to drive through all those people. All along Sunset Boulevard, there are people stopped as well ahead of the chase. We can only assume he's going to his home on Rockingham in Brentwood.
Okay, Eric, that's exactly what had happened. He did take that Sunset Boulevard off-ramp, as we had speculated, and now he is proceeding west on Sunset Boulevard. He just went past Woodburn and will be approaching Barrington Avenue.
And there's a red light at Barrington. There are lights on this. I don't know what he's going to do, how he's going to respond to traffic lights. He hasn't had to cope with that, but there's quite a lot of traffic lights. We're hearing the sirens behind us now. He is right behind us. We're hearing the sirens. The police have their sirens on. Both sides of the street have pedestrians.
All right,
They just passed us at Barrington.
He just went past Barrington.
Just passed us at Barrington, followed by the sheriffs. They're Orange County Sheriff, Santa Ana police officers who are in pursuit.
Okay, Eric, it's only now probably 3 minutes at the most, I would say, to his home in Brentwood.
That's right. His home west of the 405 on a street called Rockingham.
Right.
He will have to make a right turn onto Rockingham, and that is where his mansion is. It looks like at least 10, well, maybe not 10, but 7 or 8 Santa Ana police, Orange County sheriffs, and highway patrol officers following him, as well as regular private citizens on motorcycles who are following this chase now. And we're right behind him.
Now, how far behind the Bronco are you, Eric?
I'd say we're less than a mile behind.
Okay.
What's going to happen is that street, Rockingham, is a very, very narrow street. It's going to be interesting to see how that's going to work when he tries to make that right turn onto Rockingham and go up towards his mansion. The mansion itself is about a mile or so up Rockingham on the right-hand side.
Yeah, that's right, Eric. And also, once again, if we can continue to speculate, it will be interesting to see if he is allowed to go into the mansion itself or whether he will be stopped short of it.
That's a good question.
Remember, there are people there in that mansion, and I don't think law enforcement wants any kind of siege to take place. Then again, it is possible he may have said on the phone, all I want to do is see my mother and children, and then I will surrender. So that is also a point for speculation, too.
It's hard to say what in the world is on his mind at this point.
That's right.
But he is getting very close to Rockingham. We're getting very close. He's going to be making that turn very soon. There he goes. Okay, he has made a turn.
Yeah, he's off Sunset now.
He did not make a turn on Rockingham. He turned on a street called, hang on, Bristol Circle, I think.
Yeah,
Bristol Circle North is where he turned off of Sunset.
Yeah, he'll make a left turn now to get over to his street, which is Rockingham.
This is the back way that you can get to his mansion.
That's right.
Okay, we're following not only black and whites with their sirens on and their lights flashing, but again, there's about 10 private citizens on motorcycles who have joined the pursuit as well.
And we can
Very
see
close to the house now, very, very close. We're right in the neighborhood. We are right on the block where his house is.
Okay, and he is pulling in to the driveway.
Coming around.
Someone is going to the door right now, Eric.
Okay, we're pulling up. Let me tell you what I can see. We've just turned the corner. It's total chaos here. Motorcycles, black and whites, people running around, officers getting out of their cars with their batons, people running, they're keeping our cameras away. They won't let our cameras through.
Okay, I can understand that, but we do have an aerial view, Eric.
Okay, we're gonna show you a picture from the ground here as soon as we can, but the sheriffs are not letting us get up close enough to actually see what's going on with the naked eye. So you have the best viewpoint from the helicopter there. They're
That's
stopping
right.
us.
Is that something out of this, pointed out of the window there, Hal, on the passenger side?
Well, it did,
Or is that just the mirror?
it might be the mirror.
But he's right in the courtyard of his estate.
Yeah, and he was evidently not driving, obviously.
No.
So he would be sitting right over there, possibly on that side.
But the gates were open, he went right through, someone came up to him and then was chased away by whoever the driver was, and two uniformed officers or uniformed men came up and pulled him away, flashing lights on both sides, and we are right here at a standoff.
Now there's a big crowd here developing as well. All the people who were chasing him have now stopped here.
Curiosity seeking.
Yeah, we saw that, George. Could you see him in the car?
See into the driver's seat.
We must recognize the fact also that we're dealing here with so many variables, so many imponderables, the state of mind of OJ himself, what he has said on the phone when talking to other people, perhaps law enforcement. It's very, very difficult to figure out just what the next move is going to be.
Craig, what do you see from up there in the your pilot's position?
Well, Stan, we've got the vehicle in the driveway with flashers on. Someone approached the vehicle initially and then believed the security guards or police officers pulled them away from the vehiil. And right now, it's just it's a waiting game, it looks like.
Where are the law enforcement officers? Can you see them around? Are they all outside?
It looked like they came out of the house, or were in the house and came out of the house and then went back into the house. At this point in time, I do not see too many law enforcement people in and around the vehicle. However, that's not to say they could be close proximity to the house and the vehicle around the grounds.
Craig, let me recommend that we stay right on your position there, because I have a feeling that the car didn't just drive in there to sit there, that something is happening right now. I would suspect there's some kind of communication, cellular communication between a cell phone and either the house or law enforcement in that area. Some kind of negotiation must be going on.
Yeah, I would assume that would be a good analysis of the situation. Here right now, it appears that to resolve this possible conflict here, that communication would take place, so everybody would know what was going on, so there would be no unexpected surprises to cause some problems.
Yeah, we don't want to just guess at what might happen, because we don't know any more than the viewers who are watching with us or than you do sitting up there. And I think the best thing we can do is just watch and wait and hope that this is resolved with a peaceful resolution.
Hal, we just got some information over our radio. The police helicopter is requesting us to gain in altitude because of the number of helicopters over the scene here is interfering with voice communications with the vehicle, and there appears to be negotiations going on from the vehicle with either obviously I would speculate a cellular phone, as you mentioned earlier.
Right. Okay, well, if you can gain altitude, we certainly want to cooperate in that respect, not endanger anybody. And as we say, we hope that this will end peaceably, but we'll see what happens here. We'll stay on that Ford and see what happens. But I do suspect that there are negotiations going on right now.
And the fact that the officers of the scene have kind of stayed the other side of the wall, there's no one rushing or standing around, just the white car sitting there in the courtyard.
Yeah, I think his motivation, he said, was to see his mother, who was at the estate, and perhaps the children. Now, the children may not be there. We don't know that. Maybe they're being brought there, and there may be some kind of negotiation that perhaps if he could see his mother and the children and make some statement perhaps, or talk to them, that maybe then there would be a surrender to the police.
Friends and his attorney.
Yeah, that letter was read this afternoon, and what it did was to proclaim his innocence. He claimed that he was innocent innocent of the charges of murder in the first degree, 2 counts of murder in the first degree, with special circumstances. I think it's just a matter now of waiting to see. Do you see any other law enforcement activity in the area, Craig, as you look down?
Yes, as you can see on the perimeter road here, there is quite a number of vehicles that were in the pursuit with the white Bronco. They have all positioned themselves around the house, and I suspect that there are quite a number of officers surrounded the house at this time.
There were evidently officers inside the house also.
Yes, that's what appeared as we came up. Someone approached the vehicle initially and was pulled away from the vehicle by what it looked like some sort of officers. I could not tell their uniforms.
You know, Craig, to put it in one kind of perspective, the belief earlier was, when the letter was read at his attorney's office, at Mr. Shapiro's office, the view was that he was a fugitive from justice. Well, he is not a fugitive in one respect anymore. We know where he is, and he is, there was speculation he might be out of the country, maybe hiding someplace. That is not the case anymore. That situation has now changed. OJ Simpson is back at his home, and this is not a friend's home or any secondary home. This is his primary residence. Where he has been all day is difficult to speculate. He was out in the valley, then down in Orange County, and now he came back up the San Diego freeway and has come home again. I doubt that he will be leaving again. The police now know where he is. We have found him. The door is opening, and let's see what happens now. We'll watch with you. This is the driver's side of the vehicle.
Okay, someone just got out of the vehicle, approaching the front door, dressed in black, and entered. Looks like they entered the front of the house there. Possibly O.J. Simpson at this point in time. From this vantage point, it was difficult to see or positively identify that individual.
In the brief view that we had, whoever that individual was, whether it was O.J. or not, the person did not appear to be carrying a weapon.
No, it didn't appear that at all, and in fact, they walked rather casually to the front door. So, So it'll be interesting to see what develops here.
Yeah, the reason I mention that is because the reports were that O.J. did have a gun to his head as the car was driving up the 405 freeway. So there did not seem to be a weapon for that person who walked into the house.
Right, Hal. We're going to reposition here and possibly get around to the other side of the vehicle so we can possibly see inside that open door. We're going to come around here and see if we can't get a different vantage point to possibly get some additional information.
Now, the best we can determine, there is still one other person, at least one other person in that vehicle. Is that correct?
At this point, from the information that I've gathered up to this point, it appears
Right, now,
that
someone
has
came
just
back.
approached back to the vehicle and entered the vehicle. Let's see if we can't get around this tree here.
Maybe you can come back the other way so we can...
Civilian. Okay, that is the man that got out of the car. That presumably is Al Cowlings. From this aerial shot, it looked like that man is bulkier and stockier than O.J. Simpson is. But they are pretty much, they're both big men. But that is the man who got out the driver's side door. We presume that to be Al Cowlings, who was driving. We're not sure at this point in that 911 call whether it was Al Cowlings who said that O.J. Simpson had a gun to his head, or whether it was O.J. Simpson himself saying that he had a gun to his head. One can assume, I think, rather safely that Al Cowlings is having a conversation at this point with somebody inside that vehicle, that someone, presumably O.J. Simpson, perhaps this is the conversation between two longtime friends that will resolve this odyssey this afternoon and this evening without any more violence, without any more bloodshed.
This is just one of two different vehicles that authorities had been searching for today. They had also put out an all-points bulletin for Simpson. They were searching for this white Ford Bronco.
We've had that bit of confusion all evening long.
There's been no sign of that whatsoever. So it appears if the two are in this vehicle...
Now,
that,
Al Cowlings, we believe that to be Al Cowlings, holding his hand up, his palm up, perhaps toward the police officers behind him, pointing toward the front door to O.J. Simpson's home, obviously having a conversation with someone inside at this point. Now, unfortunately, now Al Cowlings is the man we believe to be Al Cowlings, is obscured by that tree, but...
As you can see, obviously they're negotiating and talking
to police officers.
to police officers that are in the house. Back to the vehicle, so it appears that someone else is definitely in the vehicle.
Yes.
And there's an intermediary there discussing things with the police.
They were gesturing toward something behind, in the back or toward the rear of the property there.
Okay, here's I believe a man is pleading to negotiate with people here, the police obviously, and it's obviously very stressful down there from these pictures, as you can see. A very delicate situation taking place as we watch here.
Now, we do know that there was at least one gun in that car.
It would be very interesting if anybody on the ground would possibly able to get some audio here of this gentleman.
He's quite upset at the moment.
Yes.
Quite emotional here, which would seem to dictate the stressfulness of the situation, and hopefully this type of situation would not escalate into something a little more dramatic.
And both of the officers
appear to be calming the individual down and reassuring him that things are safe.
Well, there's no doubt, as we mentioned before, that O.J. is in a particularly agitated state of mind. That is, I think, is a truism. Consequently, what goes on from here on is very difficult to ascertain. I would suspect also that his lawyer is going to be involved in these negotiations also. But it does appear, and this once again is just guessing, that O.J. is still in that vehicle and probably on the passenger side. That seems to be a fairly logical deduction, I think, because the person who got out is doing some kind of negotiation or talking rather than dealing with law enforcement and talking to somebody in the car.
Yeah, most definitely. That's what it appears to be.
Hal,
Yeah.
Eric Spillman now is live on the grounds of the House. Let's switch to him right now. Eric?
Well, Stan and Hal, unfortunately, we can't see as well from our vantage point as you can from yours. We are about, I'd say 500 yards away from the driveway where the drama is all taking place. And as you can see, there's a line of black and whites, Highway Patrol, Orange County Sheriffs, and LAPD patrol cars with their lights flashing all the way back down towards Rockingham. And
Eric, let me just mention, it looks as though something is going to happen right now. The person in the car just moved toward the entrance of the doorway.
And Hal, Stu Nahan just called in and identified the gentleman standing there in the courtyard. It is Al Cowling.
Yeah, it is a professional football player and his
And
best
close
friend.
friend,
best
yes.
friend.
Played ball at SC with OJ, and he was the man driving the car, and he was also the man with OJ Simpson at the house in San Fernando Valley.
Right. Now, he's backed away from the vehicle, and LAPD inside the house.
Just inside
I
the
would think that
doorway.
what you're going to see is, well, once again, we're speculating, but I would suspect that OJ is in that vehicle and will probably come out of that vehicle. He didn't come all this way to sit in the car.
Now, everyone at the scene, I know everyone hoping for a peaceful solution to this entire scenario.
And Jan, he's standing right out in the open. There are 2 police officers just inside the door.
Right.
At least 2. There may
At
be
least
there may
two.
be lots more. Right?
2 that we've seen at this point, yes.
And then he had his hands moving in a very emotional manner, and what they were saying.
Right, it was unclear who he was speaking to, whether he was speaking to law enforcement officials, perhaps, there by the wall, or maybe even neighbors, bystanders who were there. It's hard to tell from this point. But at one point, yes, he was very emotional.